What's good, YouTube? Nappy here, back again, once again. Today, it's Thursday, so you know that means another Pokemon Top 5 all lined up and ready to go for you guys. Last week, the choice between either Top 5 starter Pokemon or Top 5 potential Fairy types. And finally, after every week getting kicked down time and time again, potential Fairy type Pokemon have won. Now, this Top 5, as well as any Top 5 that I do, is 100% opinionated. That means that if you don't agree with it, then by all means, leave your own Top 5 in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and slow it down and break down this week's top 5 as well. In the number 5 slot this week, you guys, we have Clefable. I guess we can go ahead and include Clefairy too, include the entire Evo line, or at least have them up for consideration as well. Now, ever since Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff? I don't know if Wigglytuff got confirmed or not, but I know Jigglypuff did. Ever since they got confirmed Fairy typing, it was almost kind of like a dead giveaway that Clefairy and Clefable would too, because, you know, in first gen, they kind of counterbalance each other. Those two Evo chains, they were kind of like, I don't want to say twins, but you guys get what I'm saying. On top of that, look at Clefable's Pokedex description. It says right there, it is a kind of fairy. So, with all that being said, I could see the potential for Clefairy and Clefable becoming Fairy type. When it comes to stats, Clefable doesn't really need it. Clefable's not an amazing Pokemon, but at the same time, it's not terrible. So I don't really see it in the stats department, but I definitely could see Clefable becoming part Fairy type. That's why it's number 5 this week. In the number 4 slot this week, we have another, I guess you could say, predictable Pokemon. That's probably why they placed so low in this week's top 5. We have Blissey. So I'll go ahead and include Chansey too. Blissey does not need the Fairy typing at all when it comes to stats. Blissey is an absolute tank. Them stats don't need no help. I mean, I guess you could say attack and maybe special attack, but I don't really see them boosting those stats for Blissey, because then Blissey would just become straight OP. But then again, you know, I mean, Snorlax is a fucking monster, and he's got stats kind of like that. You know, he's a nice little HP hog. But neither one of them could take physical hits at all. But that would be nice to see a physical fairy attacker in Gen 6, because I don't really see a whole lot of fairy attacks. I see that more as like a special attack thing. But then again, you got Galley with. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Blissey is one of those Pokemon that, like I said, stats don't need it, but just the physical appearance and everything about it just screams fairy. So I could definitely see Blissey getting that fairy typing in Gen 6. Claiming the number 3 slot this week, we have a Pokemon that a lot of you guys probably wouldn't expect. We have Lumineon. The reason that I chose Lumineon is because it's basically a forgotten Pokemon. Its stats are not all crazy amazing either. They're kind of parallel to Clefable's. And I think that it would bring Lumineon some attention. It would bring it some more relevance back in. But at the same time, I could also see Lumineon being part dark too. Either way, I would really like to see Lumineon get a second typing, and that's another thing about this whole potential fairy speculation. A lot of people always want to say, oh, you know, Gengar is going to become part fairy. If a Pokemon already has dual typing, their typing is not going to change. It's not. So you have to find Pokemon that just have single typings for right now and add that fairy typing to it. But I think Lumineon, just because of that, would be a perfect candidate to become a potential fairy type in Generation 6. Ringing home the number 2 slot this week, the number 2 spot, whatever you want to call it, we have Delcatty. Go ahead and include Skitty in this too. Skitty and Delcatty are two of the, I don't want to say worst Pokemon out there, but for Delcatty in evolved form to have a base, what, 380? I think that's what it says. It's kind of small on my screen right now, but a base 380 total stats, Delcatty could use the help. That's the main reason I'm pulling Delcatty right now. That, and plus, you know, it does fit the appearance of a fairy type Pokemon. I could see Delcatty become a fairy type. Couple that with, you know, the whole fact that Nintendo or Game Freak is supposed to make 6th generation Pokemon since it's in France. It's supposed to be beautiful and all of this stuff. Delcatty, I could see definitely filling that role as part fairy type. It would also give it that boost in stats that it desperately, and that's an understatement, I mean, yeah, understatement, needs. Finally, taking the crown this week as the number 1 potential fairy type, we have Milotic. Ever since this entire discussion, this debate has come up, ever since they announced fairy type Pokemon, Milotic has been the one Pokemon that's always come to the front of my head every single time. And I've never heard anybody else say Milotic. Milotic, again, fits that role of beauty. How do you evolve a Feebas into Milotic? You gotta up that bitch's beauty. And in turn, it would fit in perfectly with the Kalos region, everything that Game Freak's trying to do. Plus, Milotic has those stats. It's got what, base 540? Again, it's small on my screen, I can't see right now. But it's got that base 540 stats, and so far, outside of Gardevoir, we have not seen any actual dominant fairy type Pokemon. You know, what's the typical set that you see on a Milotic? Ice Beam, Scald, Recover, boom, slap a fairy type move on there, this bitch gets moved up to OU and it wrecks dragons. It absolutely destroys dragons, and that is why Milotic is #1 on this week's top 5 potential fairy type Pokemon. So there you have it, people. That wraps up this week's top 5 potential fairy type Pokemon. After so many weeks of getting kicked down time and time again, they finally made it onto the series countdown, whatever you want to say. But if you guys did enjoy this week's top 5, make sure you smash that like button for us and share with us your own top 5 potential fairy type Pokemon in the comment section below. Now, real quick, I want to go ahead and say, you guys, this is our 25th week doing top 5. That is amazing. Thank you all so much for the support. But for next week, we have the choice between either top 5 types, not just like, I mean, I know we've already done top 5 like individual types, but just top 5 types as a whole, or returning again from last week because they lost again. We have top 5 starters. Again, both images on the screen are just meant to represent what you're voting for. You're not like voting for top 5 Unova starters, or you're not voting for top 5 out of those 3 types. You would think that's a given, but some people. Whoop. Anyways, you guys, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for your support over the past 25 weeks for top 5. And as always, thank you for checking out the video. That was redundant, but thank you. You know me, YouTube 9492. I'm out.